Hello and welcome to the big picture. With the elections to the 16th Lok Sabha having been declared and the campaign about to heat up further in the coming days and weeks, some developments in the last day or two are becoming a cause for concern. India is not new to violence or tensions during elections. However, in the last decade or so, the stringent actions of the Election Commission, the model code of conduct among other measures, have resulted in these situations having come under some control. However, with huge stakes now in the forthcoming elections, confrontational politics seem to be taking over. We will discuss today whether the campaign in the next 6 weeks will see more such confrontations or what we witnessed was just an aberration, and what measures can be taken to ensure more peaceful elections and less of confrontations. To discuss this, I have with me Professor Pushpesh Pant, former professor at JNU and political analyst, Professor George Mathews, Chairman, Institute of Social Sciences, and Vinod Sharma, political editor, Hindustan Times. Welcome to all of you. Vinod, I would like to come to you first. Are you surprised by the developments which have happened in the last couple of days, especially yesterday, in the context of elections coming up, the campaign picking up, or do you think that this is something which we need to expect more and more in the coming days?
Well, you see, what you've seen on the streets, we have been witnessing in Parliament as well. Here was a face-off between two political parties which essentially are in conflict because both are fighting for the mind of India, each one in its own way. And according to them, there's no better way of fighting for the mind of India than to create some moving picture drama, which has happened in Delhi, which has happened in Lucknow, which happened in Gujarat. Unfortunately, today what I see makes me empathize with our party because, not entirely, but the fact that in a case where there should be cross cases registered against both, only their people have been hauled up. Now this is not fair because regardless of from where the provocation came, at the end of it we saw a stone pelting from both sides. It is true that this issue was squarely in the domain of the Chief Election Officer of Delhi, Chief Election Officer of Pant, Chief Election Officer of the Election Commission of India. Now, remember, Nikam, that this happened less than half a furlong from the office of the Election Commissioner. The BJP is just in the vicinity of the Chief Election Commissioner's office. Now, today we have heard a statement from the Election Commissioner that Mr. Kejriwal was in violation of the Achar Sanhita, which is the model code of conduct.
Yes.
But the fact remains that this clarification has come a trifle too late. And if there was a confrontation of this nature, it was at once a law and order situation that impinged on the fair conduct of polls. They should have immediately intervened rather than giving a clarification the next day. And in the meanwhile, in the interregnum, so much of debate has happened where people have called each other names, they have called each other Maoists, they have called each other,
not called each other Maoists. One has called the other Maoists.
Yeah, I know. One has called the other. They have called them urban Maoists, Now, Maoists have an ideology, but they are not people who are not part of this country. Now, to treat them as enemies is very unfortunate.
Okay.
And to make this into an expletive or an abuse is doubly objectionable. This only shows that political discourse has touched the Nadar in this country.
Absolutely.
And so also political conduct.
Absolutely. Political conduct and political discourse. Is this, Professor Pant, is this something which will be seen more and more between just these two parties? Do you see that as a problem?
I'm afraid we are in for a very unpleasant election campaign in the coming days. I think what we witnessed yesterday was disgusting, and I quite entirely agree with what Vinod Bhai was saying, that I think the Election Commission should appear at least to be non-partisan.
Right.
You can't single out one party. The cameras did show some very gruesome pictures of furniture being thrown at each other, stone pelting and so on. And I don't think that any party has come out either clean refrain or honorably from this confrontation. But you can't have satyagrahis turning into stormtroopers and saying that the fascists can be only fought by fascist methods. So I think this is going to lead us on to a street fighting days of the 20s and 30s when the Weimar Republic failed and the Hitler did take place, come to power democratically elected.
Right.
So I'm afraid it's not only the Aam Aadmi Party and in Delhi. I think we are in for an extremely unpleasant show of strength in parts of UP where violence is in the DNA of the Samajwadi Party, where there has been a breakdown of law and order, including what happened in Muzaffarnagar. I think the caste equations are pretty heated up, and I think the other thing which distresses me, Girish Bhai, is that in the past election campaign, in the UP state elections, Mr. Khurshid Ahmed Khan, Salman Khurshid, sorry, came out, I mean, his worthy father is more in my memory than he ever can be, did come out with extremely provocative statements that election commission can hang me, but I will continue to say this. He made a perfunctory apology and was allowed to get away with it. It's not only the congressman. Varun Gandhi made a particularly inflammatory speech.
So you're talking of the way the election commission is handling this issue. Do you have a problem with that?
I have a major problem with that. I think not the present election commission only, in the past.
Okay.
I think ever since Mr. Sheshan was given the raps on his knuckles by Supreme Court, the election commission has really shrunk into its shell. I mean, fine. So the model code of conduct is violated.
No, Professor Pant, the fact was that in the previous elections, in the last, say, 20 years, we have seen a gradual reduction of this kind of...
Because that was...
But do you... what the question is that, are we seeing a revival of that kind of confrontational politics now?
Unfortunately, we are, because I think there was an afterglow of Mr. Sheshan and Mr. Lingdo, and I think a rot started with Mr. Gill, MS Gill, who had political ambitions to follow, as the whole world knows, to suck up to a particular party, end up in Rajya Sabha, end up in a ministry, then get eased out after infamy. You also had a person like Mr. Naveen Chawla, not really known for his non-partisan conduct before he became this. So one hoped that, like with Vikramaditya Singhasan, once he ascends the throne, he would suddenly change colors.
Okay.
So I'm very concerned.
You're concerned, Professor Mathew, the issue of confrontational politics. Is this something which you think the Aam Aadmi Party has brought into the elections, and now, before the elections also, and now during the election campaign? Would you think that they have been the cause for this kind of confrontation? For instance, there are questions being asked like, okay, Arvind Kejriwal was stopped in Gujarat for whatever reasons, rightly or wrongly, and if they had to protest, they could have gone to the Chief Election Commissioner and lodged a protest, lodged a complaint, and asked the Election Commissioner to take note of it, instead of going straight to the BJP office and creating this ruckus.
You see, confrontational politics was there, is there, and in a country like ours with a stratified society which we are in, this confrontational politics will continue. But the whole question which is worrying me is that after our first elections in the early 50s, till now, why we have not evolved a culture of peaceful election? Why we don't have norms and values by which...
We have norms. The problem is values.
Yeah. We
have enough norms, we have enough rules, enough laws in this country. But the problem seems to be the values.
And my question is, in a debate like this, we have to go back to the basics. Whether one party person went there or came here or stone was thrown, that is only symbolic.
Right.
What is fundamentally wrong with us? The whole world is looking at our elections, and they say that here is the largest democracy, biggest, the best democracy, and why can't we play a role model? And why all these reputations we have built, and as you correctly said, in the past 2 decades or so, the violence has come down at this level of elections at least. And why can't we maintain that? Where is our culture of peace? Why are we going for culture of violence? So I again repeat, we have to go to the fundamentals of it.
Vinod, you seem to be smiling. I don't know why.
You know,
you can answer. You can
I
tell me
have tremendous regard for Mr. Mathew.
Yes.
I've known him for many years, and I share his dream which I think is utopian, but I do share his dream. But I also want to remind him and myself that this election, for all you know, may end up endorsing violence by virtue of the result it may throw up. You see, at the center of the debate, in this very
Vinod,
partisan debate, at the
Vinod,
center
Vinod,
of
Vinod,
this
1
very
minute.
partisan debate.
Sorry, Vinod, 1 minute. My question which I asked Matthew also, I'm asking you. Don't you think that the Aam Aadmi Party could have handled this situation better instead of confronting, going to the gates of the BJP and staging that dharna, which obviously provoked the other side also, into doing whatever it did, though nobody is going to endorse it or approve what they've done. The thing is that don't you think the Aam Aadmi Party is showing a little over enthusiasm in dealing with situations like this?
Well, of course, it's a younger party. Like younger religions, it has that weakness or downside, and we have to live with that. But I quite disapprove of their arrogance, but at the same time, I am not with the self-righteous indignation of the BJP. Simple as that. Because as Professor Pant said, it takes two to tango. And about the violence bit, I am saying that at the center of the discourse in this election is an event that happened in 2002, and at the same time we are hearing that the party which was involved in that and the individuals who are involved in that may end up winning the election. So this election may well be about endorsement of violence. Why don't we debate that serious downside of this?
Professor Pant, let me get Professor Pant in on this. I think you made important point there.
I think he's making the most important point of the discussion. I mean, if in a democratic polity, the people by majority vote decide to vote someone in power who to all his opponents is an ogre, is a tyrant, is a fascist, is a mass murderer, what do you do? That's the point I was trying to make, that after the failure of the Weimar Republic, Hitler rose to power on a democratic vote. And before that, conditions were created by brown shirts, stormtroopers and so on to make a climate favorable for a public opinion in his favor. So you say there is a disorder, the only person who can rescue it is a dictator, and dictator is not necessarily an evil any longer for majority of people who are looking for stability.
Hopefully,
so that's why.
That's very sorry, not hopefully, but it's unfortunate. But what I'm asking you, I want you to address this specific issue, today's issue. Why is there so much of tension and confrontation between the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP? Because we have not seen congressmen behaving like this so far. We don't know. We'll wait and watch. But the whole thing now seems to have boiled down to the confrontation between Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP.
That's very easy to understand as far as I am concerned. BJP feels that they have been cheated of the eyeballs on the TV screen. They have been cheated of their leader getting a coverage on headlines, and Aam Aadmi Party, by usurping the new kid in the block and forming the government, deprived them of a prize which they legitimately believe was theirs in Delhi. It stopped them from registering a clean sweep, and Aam Aadmi Party has stopped the momentum of the juggernaut of Modi for a short while. So their peak is understandable. Why Aam Aadmi Party feels so strongly is that when the Congress pulled the rug from under their feet, they were half expecting that despite being corrupt, equally corrupt as Congress, at least they would like to get rid of one, as they say in Hindi, Sapnath, Naganath, the lesser evil, greater devil, known evil, etc. That they would at least prop them up, etc. That's another. The other thing is that, as he says, that if the party is young, and if the party is a mass base, this is not hurting them at all. I mean, even if they are de-recognized, it would be a great scandal that a party which was challenging the two national parties and registered its presence has been unconstitutionally, undemocratically stopped from contesting elections.
So are you trying to say you are trying to say that actually all these events can benefit the Aam Aadmi Party?
They will 100% benefit the Aam Aadmi Party, and they deserve to benefit from this, because Girish bhai, let's get back to, Vinod bhai has very well put what's wrong with a particular party and their candidate. But let's get back to another thing. A few days back, our distinguished parliamentarians, including ministers in the ruling party and chief ministers of the Congress party, did not behave in a manner which says that elected representatives of the government UPA 2 have any respect for rule of law. Now, if you have no rule of law within the parliament where the lawmakers sit, and you expect somebody of indulging in parliamentary behavior on the street side, I think it's an oxymoron.
Mr. Mathew, you think that, this is interesting. Do you think that this is just an extension of what we have been witnessing? They are being called anarchists, they are being called urban Maoists and all these things. But the fact is that they are learning, as Professor Pant points out, are they learning from what is happening inside the parliament?
I cannot accept that argument because again I am repeating the point that India.
By the way, Vinod called your hopes utopian.
Yes, I am very happy. Vinod is my friend. He knows me.
Yeah.
And only utopians can take things forward.
The choice between anarchists and nihilists and utopians, one would choose the utopian anyway.
Anything. Okay.
So you are with me.
Oh, I am with you on that.
No, the point is that the whole society need a culture. And then we elect our members to the panchayat, to the state assembly and to the parliament. Now, there are occasions where very bad things have happened in the parliament. But that doesn't mean that all the people should emulate that.
No, I'm not talking that they should, but are they emulating?
No. Now, in this the question we are now discussing, now Kejriwal visited two other states, if I remember correctly, right. Haryana and UP before going to Gujarat.
Right.
And he went to Gujarat, which, as you know, it's an important state. And when he went there, what kind of a reception he got from the officialdom or the government or whatever it is. He was a former chief minister of Delhi. And he lands in the state and he goes. And what kind of a reception he got. And that is a party which is a very major party. And immediately the emotional reaction takes place. Every action will have a reaction. Why not we accept that from that point of view and don't go into the parliament and other issues?
That was your action-reaction theory was something which was very controversial 10 years back, 12 years back.
Okay.
So if you accept that, you'll have to accept that also. Vinod, I think Mr. Mathews is making a very important point. He says that Kejriwal goes to Haryana, Kejriwal goes to Uttar Pradesh, he doesn't have any problems. But in Gujarat, he faces problems as soon as he lands there. But now it is being said that he was violating the model code of conduct, and that's why that action had to be taken. Would you agree with the explanation?
Well, indeed, there was a violation of the model code of conduct. If the number of cars in his cavalcade were more than the prescribed number, and if he had not taken prior permission from the district authorities. Now, these are indeed violations which are very commonplace during election time, and the election commission normally takes note of them, pulls up the party concerned, and that's about it. Now, the question here is different. The question here is that Mr. Kejriwal, as Mr. Mathews rightly pointed out, as ex-chief minister, didn't get the kind of deferential or protocol he should have actually been getting, if not a protocol, at least a courtesy, a political courtesy. But that is something which will have to be pondered upon by the chief election commissioner, because his host in the current situation couldn't have been the government in power in Gujarat. But I am on a different point, Nikam, that Mr. Kejriwal was hurting the BJP where it hurt the most. It was hitting them there, which is that he was trying to unravel Mr. Modi's Gujarat model of development through proofs and evidence on the ground. And his overzealous supporters have obfuscated that message by what they did in Delhi yesterday. And today, much against the action-reaction theory of Mr. Mathews, he's saying that even if somebody does violence on us, we as Gandhians should respond with peace and don't resort to violence we don't believe in that theory. That's what he said today, Kejriwal.
Right.
That he asked exhorted his workers to not to resort to violence. He could have done that last evening, but he did not do it. And I think that in this limited case, the Aam Aadmi Party is trying to eat the cake and have it too. So is the BJP. The BJP as a party of older standing than the Aam Aadmi Party could have protected its headquarters in a more ingenious way than resorting to the methods that was sought to be perpetrated at them. That is where I think the BJP has lost an opportunity to show itself as a maturer entity. They have come across as impish, as churlish, as reactive as the Aam Aadmi Party, which is way, way younger than their party and therefore has to be given the benefit of doubt.
Okay, Professor Pant, let us not get into this benefit of doubt business. I am asking you if you think that the Aam Aadmi Party should not have gone out of its way to do it. Another important thing which Vinod mentioned was the fact is that after all this, Kejriwal apologized last night itself in a tweet last night itself and this morning also. So you think that somewhere that apology should be taken on its face value? One. Second thing, should we expect the same kind of response from the BJP also?
No, Girish bhai, I think there are two short points which I would like to make. A, if you have indulged in a criminal activity, an apology under the Indian Penal Code and the Criminal Procedure Code is certainly not enough. Whether it is the Sahara Sharif, whether it is the Ansals, you offer an apology and get away literally with
we are not talking about a criminal.
No, but I am talking because there is a criminality involved yesterday. Stones were pelted, causing simple and grievous injuries because according to Prashant Bhushan's press conference and Ashutosh speaking, they said somebody was in ICU. Yes. So if you cause grievous hurt intentionally to somebody or indulge in a rash and negligent act likely to cause hurt or result in death, it's a criminal act.
Right.
And you better get your punishment
but
for
the
that.
FIRs, FIRs have been filed only against the Aam Aadmi Party.
There is another issue to it. That was my second short point. There is a history of the animus between the Delhi police and the Aam Aadmi government when they were in power in Delhi. So what can be better than settling scores and getting things even when you have
this is a very, very serious issue of concern. If what you're saying is that the Delhi police is trying to take out on the Aam Aadmi Party because of its past behavior.
I strongly suspect that. Not only that, I would say that what he's saying, the action-reaction theory, without buying that in totality because it will take us to the beginning of universe as the chicken and the egg. I think what happens in Gujarat, what happens to an opponent in UP, what happens to an opponent in Punjab, what happens to an opponent in Jammu and Kashmir also directly results from how the police respond to the government in power and their opponents.
Mr. Mathews, this leaving aside the criminality of the actions which happened yesterday and for which we will see how the Delhi police will take up those things. My question is, Arvind Kejriwal's apology and in fact Arun Jaitley also has in a tweet and in his blog say is requesting or appealing to his workers and his supporters, the BJP supporters, to be calm and things like that. Do you think that this should blow over the whole incident? Do you expect things to come back to normal, or do you expect
business as usual?
Business as usual.
No, I completely feel I have a full confidence that the apology from Kejriwal and the expression of regret by other BJP.
No, there's no expression of regret.
But at least
so far there has been no expression of regret from the BJP.
But at least
I have not seen any at least.
So whatever, at least Kejriwal has done it, and that will send a message. And I feel that it will cool down and send a very important message that this is not the way we have to fight the coming elections. And secondly, I feel this was an early warning. And this early warning is very important in any social event which is going to take place.
You wanted to say?
I wish I could believe that. I'm desperately trying to convert to his utopianism.
Yeah,
I can't. The only thing is that I felt a great sense of pity and empathy for Mr. Raj Mohan Gandhi. The titles of one of his books is reconciliation and revenge.
Right.
And he is not in favor of retaliation and revenge, and he was
But
devoted his life
you think he was just he just got caught in a situation where
Absolutely. I think what is happening is that this country today is torn by a divide where reconciliation is not going to be possible unless there is truth and reconciliation together. If you are not willing to face the past and you think that there will be reconciliation in future, I don't think it's likely to happen.
Vinod.
Well, we don't have a Desmond Tutu in India to preside over any kind of truth and reconciliation. Now, that apart, I think that, much emphasis is being put on this model code of conduct.
Right.
As if this is some kind of a push button mechanism where the Chief Election Commissioner makes an announcement and everything falls in place. This incident in Gujarat happened very much close to the announcement, and surely there wasn't adequate time for either Kejriwal or for the district administration to get used to that kind of a situation. And politicians continue to wield influence over the police even in model code of conduct situations when they seem to be ascendant. Let us not forget that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let us not forget that. So surely on paper, the entire system has to be navigated by the Chief Election Commissioner through the Chief Election Officers. In practice, that does not happen. So this is not a debate about violation of model code of conduct politically. It is a debate about the conduct of political parties.
Absolutely.
Not as much about model code of conduct.
Absolutely.
Let us get that clear.
Absolutely.
And it suits certain politicians and political parties to be emphasizing that aspect to show the other side in a poor light.
Absolutely, yes, Mr. Mathews. Then, in all fairness, I think we need to tell you that yesterday when Arvind Kejriwal started his started in Gujarat, he was not carrying any mics. He was not addressing the meetings there. No. He was just traveling across this thing. And incidentally, when some of the pictures which I saw, they were not even wearing those caps. In fact. So you think that the Gujarat police was trying to overreact, or Gujarat administration was overreacting there? And whatever you wanted to respond to what Vinod was saying.
My point is that I agree with you that the Gujarat police, Gujarat administration was overreacting, and that is very evident when you read between the lines and whatever is there. Now, one point I want to emphasize
quickly, sir,
is that people want peace and development. And when they see that a particular party or a particular leader is going after violence or using violence as an instrument to come to power, if it is a democracy, people who believe that they need peace and development, they will say, we don't want you as your leader.
Professor Pant, very quick last words to you. I mean, going away from the utopian ideals of Mathews, you want to bring some reality to this. What is the reality now? Is the reality that as you said earlier, which is quite alarming what you say, that there is unless there is reconciliation, unless there is reconciliation, there can't be.
No, I don't foresee reconciliation in a hurry. As Vinod rightly said, there is no Desmond Tutu here. But I at least can expect reasonably some respite from this lawlessness and the law of jungle. I don't think that reconciliation or handshakes are possible. Some kind of an exemplary punishment, more than admonition, more than apologies, is called for from both sides.
From both sides. I think on that note we need to.
But Girish, one thing.
Very quickly, Vinod.
You know that in Lucknow, the aggressor was the other side.
Yes.
In Lucknow, the aggressor was the other side.
Absolutely. No, I
think that we need even-handed treatment.
Absolutely.
If people who are the aggressors in Delhi are being punished, then the aggressors in Lucknow should also be punished.
Absolutely. I think on that note we need to, and Professor Pant put it perfectly, saying that on both sides there needs to be certain amount of wisdom dawning on them, so that
fear of law,
wisdom and the fear of law. Okay, and we hope that in the next 6 weeks of campaigning we will not see another instance of such violence happening on the streets. Thanks to all my guests, Professor Pushpesh Pant, George Mathews and Vinod Sharma. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in Big Picture same time tomorrow.